Hello, and welcome to the first ever episode of Treasure Hunting for Nostalgia. My name is Brandon.
I'm Brad.
And with this podcast, what we really want to do is go back to the years where we could find sort of a nostalgic factor of our lives, mainly with video games. We've been playing games since we were very young. I remember going to the arcade, or not even the arcade, to the laundromat with our mom, playing Donkey Kong and Super Mario Brothers when we were probably around 3 or 4. So we've got probably about 25 plus years experience in video games. So we want to not only incorporate the different stories of our lives that actually pertain to our feeling for the nostalgia, but just the different stages of moving from video games to movies to collectible card games. Does that sound okay? Does that sound right?
Yeah, I also wanted to add that we want to try to connect with you as the audience to actually become one with our stories, I guess. I feel we have some good stories out there, and we just want to get them out because throughout our everyday lives of working and raising our families and our kids, it's good to actually come back to think and remember about everything that happened, and you get that good feeling of being young again and feeling happy, and it's just a great feeling to actually go back and sit down and talk about those things. And we actually just want to broadcast that because not only as kind of like a stress reliever, or it's just good to get it out there and just talk about it and get centered back to gravity before you actually go and do another grueling work week. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to open it up with, we're going to be talking about our lives, our different points of view on things. We actually want to go through and let you know what we're about. We're going to let you know what our top video games for each of the old systems are, and it's not really a favorites list because I don't really have a favorite. That's like choosing a favorite kid or a favorite food. I just incorporate it to what I want to talk about, what games gave me the most pleasure, and I don't know how Brandon feels, but I actually don't have let's say a top video game for each system, a favorite, because they all have a special place in my heart, just like each of one of my kids and my wife. So of course I'm not going to choose who my favorite kid is, but I could
tell you who my favorite one of your kids are of mine.
And who's that?
That'd have to be Logan. It used to be Sam, but Sam just turned into an asshole.
Sam. Okay, this is how I was thinking about this yesterday, because I took the off work to take the kids out, and
wait, before we go there, let's go ahead and... So you said you're married. You have how many kids?
I have 3 kids. Been married for 13 years, going on 14. I'm currently 31, so as you know, I was married when I was 18. I was a teen dad. I don't know why they never do shows about teen dads. It's always teen moms. But I was a teen dad. I stuck it through. Found the love of my life in high school. Had a child from it when I was 17. My oldest son is Jordan. He is 13. My middle son is Sam. He is 10. And Logan, who is 6.
Yeah, and I've only been married for about 2.5 years. I'm also 31. If you didn't figure it out, we're twins. I met my wife at work. She brought 2 children to the family, Willie and Naja, and like Brad said, it's hard to choose just one that you love. And even when I was putting my list together last night, it was hard to say this is my favorite game, because there's always, well, this game is your favorite. Well, what I did, like Brad did, I was just like, which video game have I played throughout the years brings me the most feeling of reminiscing with playing games with my brothers. We also have a younger brother, Matt, who's been in the Army since he was 18, about 7-8 years. So just thinking about that, and before I interrupted, I'm sure Brad had story here is going to tell about his infamous son Sam from last night or yesterday.
Well, so I was sitting on the bed naked, as I usually start out the morning. Sitting on the bed, deciding what we're going to do first. So Sam and Logan started fighting over the Xbox, and I just want to interject. Brandon and I have a deep hatred for the Xbox. We always has, because it's made by the evil Microsoft Corporation. A lot of people don't get it. My wife doesn't get it. His wife doesn't get it. Our brother Matthew doesn't get it. But for some reason, we just have an uncontrollable hatred for the Xbox. And I finally broke down, bought the kids an Xbox for Christmas, which I swore I would never do, but when I found out that my wife's sisters were going to buy it for them for Christmas, and they were going to finally get the Xbox they've been having wet dreams about for the past 10 years of their life, I decided I had too much pride for that to happen, for them to get the kids the best Christmas present of their lives, and I had to just basically make a decision, and I finally did it, and I bought them the Xbox for Christmas. Biggest fucking mistake of my life, because that's all they ever do now. Even though we have the PlayStation, we have just about every other system out there. There's something about the Xbox that just brainwashes them and wants them to stay in their room for 12 hours a day and play that thing if I would let them. So, of course, they were fighting over the Xbox. Jordan and Sam come in, start pleading their cases of what's going on. Sam's yelling on the top of his lungs. He's screaming that he just wants to choose the game they get to play. And Jordan is the older one. He usually gives in all the time, but they were just quarreling over it, and he was just had enough. So Sam screams and yells and says, "Dad, I just want to sock him." And of course, for lack of better judgment, I just said, "Go ahead and do it." I like messing with my kids. I don't think parents should be perfect all the time, because I am in no way a perfect parent. I love to see the quarrels they get into, but I just say go for it. Go ahead and sock your brother. And they exit Jordan backs away. Sam pursues him, exits the room.
How much older is Jordan than Sam?
Jordan is 13 and Sam is 10.
And how big is Jordan compared to Sam?
He's probably got a foot on him, a foot and a half maybe, and probably about 60 pounds on him.
So there's this 13-year-old man-child that's 60 pounds, bigger than his younger brother, and he's backing away from him.
He backs away because he knows he could really hurt him. If I had to describe my kids on the elements, I was thinking about this yesterday. Sam is fire, Jordan is earth, and Logan is wind. And if you think about it, it really fits them right, because Logan, during this whole time, he's the little 6-year-old, and he's got the highest metabolism I've ever seen. Of course, he didn't get that from me, but he could eat whatever he wants and not gain any weight. He's got abs. He's got a 6-pack already, and he's only 6.
Does he show off at school?
Oh yeah, he lifts his shirt up like Jersey Shore or something. So during all this time, Jordan backs away. Sam's fire is going out there to get the earth, and then here comes the wind, jumping off the bed, who was next to me this whole time watching TV, grabs his shirt. He takes off his shirt, grabs it, and runs after Sam, exits my field of vision, and all of a sudden I hear Sam let out this war cry that I've never heard before. Logan comes running back like the wind, jumps in the bed like a butterfly. He's just like so light on his feet, like a cat. So he goes and sits next to me. He's protected now because, Sam's not going to come over and punch him. Come to find out, based off of, I could gather what happened from Sam yelling. He actually didn't tell me what happened, but he just when he's mad, he talks to himself. And what he does is he talks to himself and yells out what happened in the third person. So come to find out, Logan hit me with his shirt on my back, like it was a piece of barbed wire that he actually just sliced across his back. And I don't know, maybe being the wind that he is, did it so fast that it actually hurt him. It didn't cut him open. There's no bodily harm, no scene damage. and Sam is just got this face on him that's absolute rage.
Like Randall Flagg from The Stand when he turns into a demon.
Like the Predator. He just looked so pissed off, and I don't even know why. Well, I could understand why, because I used to get that when I was little, and I've never really believed in the complete process of your genes getting passed down to your kids as, you know, as mental genes do. The physicality, of course, I see it, but me and him have so many similarities. I think he got more of my genes. I do believe it now because he was not taught this. He was just so enraged at his little brother, like I used to get with Matthew, and he brought up his fist. Remind you, Logan's hiding next to me, thinking he's safe. He raises his fist and he goes and just air punches him. He doesn't. He knows he can't punch him, but he just like stands 4 feet away and just does a full out punch in the air. And Logan says, "Ow, Daddy, hit me!" And I was sitting there like, bullshit. He did not hit you. He air punched him, and I don't know if it was just the whole force of it, of his anger. I don't know if he felt his chi or what have you, but Logan really thought he got punched when, of course, he didn't. And that's just, I don't know where we were going with this, but that's just what happened yesterday. And so that, I guess, concludes of how Sam can be an asshole. He just gets so pissed off, just like how I used to now. Brandon, what can you tell me about why you think Sam is an asshole?
Oh, just his very existence just reminds me of you. Just even when I used to live with you during the right after the dark times, and we'll get into the dark times at a later podcast, but it's nothing with drugs or alcohol or anything like that. It's just bad people.
Yeah, and you'll find that mine and Brandon's dark times may not have a whole lot of depth or weight on them. Like, you know, you'll hear about people's dark times being like, you know, man, I was shooting up heroin every day. I've been contemplating suicide. I had the noose around my neck. I really hit rock bottom. We've never really had the luxury of going through that, because
one of my biggest dark times was not getting a cupcake for dessert when I was little. So that's we'll just go ahead. No, but I was around some bad people, and it was just bringing me down. So
and it really does, you know, to us, the really dark times, and that's just, you know, part of who we are. Is we're you know, we're innocents. We don't do drugs. We don't like to go commit crimes anymore. Brandon might get into that a little bit with his juvenile delinquencies, but so he was living with us. We rescued him from the puppy shelter of the dark times, and so he was living with me and my wife at the time for about a year or two. I can't remember how long, but this is when we had Jordan and Sam.
Sam was 4, I believe, and he didn't want to say. He never said my name for the longest time when I lived with them. It took him a long time to start saying my name. He called me what was it? Aha. He called me Aha, and that sounds nothing like Brandon.
Well, he was like, Aha, you don't have a home right now.
Yeah, no, so
mocking you at the age of 4.
So we'd always get into fights, him and I, because he reminded me so much of Brad. I don't know. So I told him he couldn't. I can't remember what he couldn't do. We had gotten into it, and he goes in. I go in to take a shower, and
you wouldn't give him a Twinkie.
Oh, so I go into the shower. You know, I enjoyed my showers. They were, you know, soothing and nice.
Do you still sit down when you take a shower?
I do.
That's odd. I've never got that. I've tried it. I've tried sitting down while taking a shower. I just don't feel I could get everything clean, you know?
Oh, I can. I get into every crevice.
You dig in deep, huh?
Oh, yeah, it's just the feeling of the water coming down all over you, and you're just sitting there. And
Hey, you really flip out if you had like a multi-head shower, wouldn't you? Like, you probably have a full-on blown orgasm in the shower if you had 3 streams of water hitting you at the same time.
Well, one could only hope. But I was in the shower. I get out, drying off, and I go in. I hear this noise in my room. I was, what is that? And my bed wasn't on any
Frame.
on a frame. It wasn't on a frame.
Just on the floor.
It was on the floor with the mattress and the box springs, and that's how I prefer my beds. Not because it's so Japanese. I just like being low to the ground because I'm afraid of heights. So when I got married, of course, we had to have a bed frame, which I really don't agree with. But
see, now I'm afraid of heights too, and I have never felt the need to have my bed on the floor.
It's not that I don't like being high up on the bed. It's just that I like being close to the ground.
Okay.
So I come into my room, and all because he couldn't get a Twinkie. He was still in Pampers at this time, so he must have only been, 2 or 3?
2.
2.
Yeah, I think he was
so
2,
was
almost
2.
3.
So he was still in Pampers, and all of a sudden, he has his diaper in one hand with shit all over the pamper, jumping up and down, and he must have had some diarrhea because it got all over my bed, all over my wall, and he was laughing.
And he was pissing at the same time
and
as
he was
jumping.
Pointing and laughing at me. And
well, that's Sam for you. And I don't know why Sam turned out like that. Like I said, he must have had more of my genes because I remember doing stuff like that. Jordan, of course, he's the nurturer of the family. Like I said, he's earth. Logan is wind, and Sam is definitely fire.
Okay, so we'll get into more of those stories if you found those amusing after we go and calibrate the audience with what we believe to be our most fun-filled games that we've ever played. Of course, we're not going to, like Brad said, pick the top games of each system or a top list. It's just too hard to do.
I feel that one person could really choose one at favorite anything really. So,
and I actually heard this at work the other day. I work in an office with cubicles, and I have a pretty nice sized cube. It's bigger than all the. I used to work in customer service, so when I was in the call center, of course, we had small cubes. The walls were cut very off. Only halfway, so of course if you're sitting down you can see everyone around you. Now I've been blessed with being able to have my own cube. The cubes go pretty much 7 feet high. I've got a nice big space where I work and do my analytical stuff. But I was sitting there at work, and all of a sudden I heard, "That's just my favorite game ever." And then I'm like, "Oh, someone's talking about video games." And I'm relatively new to the department. I've only been working there for about a year, so I really keep to myself. Don't really talk to much people. I am a loner by choice and by heart, so I really don't care to be around groups of people. I'm antisocial. So I'm like, all right, let me give this a whirl.
And I don't know how we ever got like that. I'm going to have to blame my mom for this. Our mom, I should say, because I'm the same way. If I'm in a group of people that I don't know, I just want to get the fuck out of there. I just want to split. Even if it's people that I do know, I just feel so claustrophobic, and I want to go to the furthest corner and just hide until I have the ability to go home.
Yeah, so I was like, I'm gonna try to be social. I'm gonna see what this person is claiming to be their favorite game of all time. So I'm walking over step by step, and I just hear, "Oh yeah, it's so fun." This guy and this girl are having a conversation, and then I hear them say, "Can you send me some lives?" I'm like, sending lives on a video game? Are they playing online? And then all of a sudden they're like, yeah. So I walk over and say, what game are you guys talking about? And this girl says, oh, this is the best video game ever, the best one I've ever played. Have you ever played Candy Crush Saga? And I said, no, I've played 7th Saga. Is that anything like 7th Saga? Of course I knew it wasn't, but dick. So she says, no, it's this game online, see? And she showed me her phone. And it's one of those Facebook apps, and oh, Candy Crush. Oh yeah, my wife plays that, and she has me beat levels for her that she can't beat. Like if she's stuck for 14 days on one level, I'll come in and beat it in like 5-10 minutes. So she's like, "This is just the best game ever." I said, "So this game is the best game ever to you?"
Real demeaning, like.
I tried not to be. I try not to be as judgmental as I can.
See, now this is we're twins. We have the same feelings on things. We can be egotistical at times. We can be, Brandon just said, point out all the imperfections of people, and I found a place where I could tone that down a bit, but he will just be full blown. He'll be like full blown AIDS. No way to stop it. If he finds a way to demean you, he will.
And it's not even by choice. It's mainly by accidental. Just a little caveat to that. We have this friend Mike, who he tries. I mean, he tries to be a good gamer. He plays Street Fighter 2. He plays Super Nintendo. He likes Castlevania. So, he's pretty good. He actually managed to beat me once. I think I had like a hurt hand or something, where he was Ryu, his best character, and I was just playing around with like Dalsum or something. But anyways, he ended up beating me. He, jumped up and celebrated for glory. He's that type where he just tries his hardest, and if he wins, the best player ever. So one day, Mike and I and our friend Nick were sitting around before a concert downtown Sacramento. We were sitting there talking about games, and I tell him I had let him borrow Castlevania Symphony of the Night for PlayStation, and he says, I said, "How do you like the game?" He's like, "Well, it's good. It's got good music. I really like it, but it's hard. I keep dying, and without missing a beat, I just feel. I don't know why it came out. It just did." I said, "Then don't die as much." And then he just turned to Nick, and Nick looked at him. Nick let out the most humongous belly laugh he's ever let out, and Mike's like, "Damn, all right."
Was that when he would start over every time because he didn't know he could save the game?
Yeah. Every time he died, he didn't know what the save rooms were for, so he would keep dying, and he wouldn't know how to save. And so I said, "Well, if you're having trouble, just save more often." He's like, "How do you save?" And so, of course, I had to walk him through. I don't even know if he had a memory card at this point. But eventually he got the hang of it, gave me the game back after a month, and said, I like the music, but I can't get into the game.
Yeah, and when you were talking about the people at work, I was just hoping that you wouldn't say that they were talking about some shithole Atari game, because we are Nintendo fanboys. We love Nintendo. Anything that comes out Nintendo. We never got into Atari because that was a few years before our time. We were born in 81. We found that there's just people who play Atari, who used to play Atari, is on a whole different kind of... They're a different species. Because, and I could sense it too, because during my son's birthday party, Logan, during his 5th birthday party, we had people come out. A few people from his preschool came out, and there's just one dad who was just like this douchebag. I did not like him at all. I just couldn't, just the way he was acting and whatever, I just couldn't get along with him. So they came into our house, and we collect old school NES carts. We have over 300. I want to say 313 right now. They're all hanging on the glory of my wall. We bought these racks at IKEA. My wife let me put them up. You know, they're hanging up on my wall, and he comes in and he's like, "What are those?" And his wife like, "Oh, those are all the old Nintendo games. I used to love these. This is amazing. How'd you get so many?" You know, all this stuff, putting up our pride, boosting our egos a little bit. And then the dad goes, "Oh, I used to play Atari." And I was like, "That's what it is. That's why I can't get along with this guy. He's such a douche. Played Atari." And his wife kind of looked at him and looked at me, and I could just see it in her eyes that she just wanted to come over and play those Nintendo games with me, but I'm married and I did not invite her. So
She was like, I shouldn't have married you.
yeah, she should have kept hunting, but of course I was married when I was 16, 17, so of course it would have never worked out. In her wildest fantasies it probably could have, but I'm married, I love my wife.
Yeah, she in her wildest fantasy, she's sitting there playing all these video games, and you're like serving her every need. She's like, "Why don't you massage my neck while I play Double Dragon?"
Yeah, why don't you boost up the hearts a little bit on Double Dragon? We'll take turns. We'll play one die each and see who get the farthest.
That's her wildest fantasy.
That's her wildest fantasy. My wildest fantasy is just sitting there on the couch naked with my wife next to me, just watching me play video games. I love being watched when I play video games. I don't know why. We went through the whole Silent Hill Homecoming for PlayStation 3. I told her, if I'm going to buy this game and you're going to watch me play it. And it wasn't up for discussion. She, of course, obliged because she wanted to, she tries her hardest to go into my interest. And she was a sport. She watched me play the whole game. She was watching it. She was into it. She would ask questions. And I just felt like the king of the house right there. That just really hit it home for me. And then we go in and she wants to put on QVC and I can't even act quite a bit interested in that. And it's something I need to work on, but she really tries, and I don't know what I would do without her. But why don't we go ahead and hit into a couple of the games off this list. We'll go ahead and get through as many as we can. We don't want to make it too long. We will probably end on a cliffhanger just to keep you guys coming back for more. So,
and this list is pretty much secret. We made it on our own. I made my side and he made his, but we did reveal one because we were like, what are we going to say for this system? And I told him mine. He was like, well, let's try to keep it secret. I was like, yeah, but this system, we'll get to it later, but this system, I don't even know why our mom even bothered buying it for us.
Because we begged for it and we were spoiled ass kids. We didn't even really play it as much. And if you guys could probably guess, I will just tell you right now it was a Saturn. But we'll get into that. It was such a poor made system, but we just had to have it because we were bored one summer vacation day, and we just couldn't play with the other million systems we had. We just had to have this one because they had 3D fighting, they had Battle Arena Toshinden that the Sears displayed, and what was that one, Flash whatever, the rabbit.
Jack, what is that?
You hop around like a rabbit.
Jumping Flash.
Jumping Flash. One of the, and we just thought it was the most amazing.
We never
thing.
bought that game.
We didn't, but we did end up.
Well, we never bought any of the games. That was our mom who was always buying the games for us.
And she used her Sears credit card to go in one day. We said, she's like, we can't afford this right now. It's not the first of the month.
Single family home, single parent home.
Single parent home. Only seen our father a couple of times in our life
while he was running out the back door of his parents' house,
giving his other kids ice cream money, and just looked at us and shined us on. But that's probably the best that he wasn't in our life because he sounds like a total douche. But
we'll get into that.
We'll get into all that. But yeah. So we manipulated her and said, you probably have some money on your Sears card.
We were, 12, 13, getting our braces done at Sears, and we were like, hey, can you get a credit increase on your limit for Christmas?
And I don't even think it was for Christmas at that time.
No, I just remember
Yeah.
she called on a separate occasion. She had called Sears, and we were oblivious. We were in the room, playing our games, and she comes busting through the door. Well, I just got a $500 increase at Sears. New video game for us all.
Yes, that's amazing, and I think she just loves spending money on us, and she liked keeping us happy. So let's get into this list here. So what are we doing first? Are we going oldest to newest?
I say we could try to do oldest to newest. I mean, we're not even though we have a lot of gaming experience, we don't know exact years on systems when they came out. We don't know, Nintendo 64 released 96, 96, or whatever. We just general assumption of what came out. We have a pretty good idea, just not exact dates.
How about the order of which we got the systems?
Okay, we could do that.
Pretty much that's how I look at it. Even though I believe the Genesis came out before the Super Nintendo,
Yeah.
we got the Super Nintendo first, and so that's how I have it on my list.
Okay.
So let's start off with Nintendo. What do you have down?
I have down the first game I've ever played for Nintendo that I remember playing.
Was that Double Dragon?
It was Double Dragon.
Okay.
Yeah, I say first game I've played because we had friends, quote unquote friends, that were actually a set of twins named Juan and Tony, who had a Nintendo before us, and they actually introduced us to the Nintendo. So whenever we'd go over there to their house, they lived in the same apartment complex our grandma lived in South Sacramento. We actually were born in South Sacramento, but moved to North Sacramento, and we'd go down to South Sacramento to visit our grandma quite often. But we were around 5 or 6. We met these two twins. Of course, we connected to them because they were twins. We were twins.
Were they older?
Yeah, they were older. They were a couple years older. So Juan and Tony, they let us into our house. And the first game I actually saw on the TV was Super Mario Brothers. But of course, whenever it was my turn to play,
they wouldn't let us play it, right?
They'd unplug the controller, so the Goomba would kill us, and we wouldn't be able to move or anything. So I remember sitting there with a dead controller in my hand saying, I can't move, I can't move. They're like, press the button, and of course we were pressing the button, but nothing was happening, and so it just dawned on me years later that those assholes just unplugged the controller so they could play. So the first game I actually played was Double Dragon.
Double Dragon was a great game. It's for those you don't know, it's a 8-bit game, a side-scroller, just two basic functions, punch and kick. Of course, you get more hearts the more moves you learn. What about Double Dragon actually reminds you of? Is it just because it was your first?
Not only that it was my first, but of course there were Billy and Jimmy Lee twins in the game. Connected to it because I was a twin myself, so...
And both of our middle name is Lee.
Exactly. So I was like, this is a game for me. This is awesome.
On my list, which is actually really weird, is I do have down Double Dragon, but it's Double Dragon 2, The Revenge. The reason I put this down is because this was the first game I remember playing with Brandon where we could actually do side-scroll co-op where you both are on the screen, you're both working towards a common goal. I can't remember if Bad Dudes was before this, but I believe Bad Dudes you couldn't do 2-player.
No, it was when... I believe in the arcade you could, but Nintendo it was like one... Like Mario, once you die, then the other person gets a turn.
So, playing Double Dragon 2, just an amazing game. You have the new spin kick. You both go towards the enemies together. I remember on, I believe it's level 7 with the platforms, when one of us didn't make it, there's disappearing platforms that you both have to jump up, jump over, make your way across the screen or up to the door. I just felt really heartbroken, like you actually died right there next to me in real life.
Yeah, that's the level when shit got real. Like, all the other levels are pretty easy. Of course, there was a helicopter level in stage 3 that, was pretty hard, but once you got the trick down where you could actually, when the helicopter door opens, well, let me set the stage. In stage 3, it's just one room. You're in a helicopter fighting enemies. From time to time, the helicopter door will open, creating a vacuum to not only expel yourself, but the enemies. So if you got anywhere near the door, you were dead. But there's a trick. Once the door opened, if you hit pause for a long enough time, after a few seconds you unpause it, the door would shut automatically. So after you found that out, it really wasn't too hard for an 8-year-old to get past. So stage 7 was, it was torture. There was moving platforms with spikes, disappearing platforms. It was just such a hard level to get past.
Yeah, and having that loss of, I don't know what it is about twins, but when when his character died or my character died, I just felt like so heartbroken, damaged. I don't even know why.
You weren't like, you idiot! You can't get past the spikes.
No, that was probably you.
No, that was if Matt was playing.
Yeah, and it so that to me actually, and when we finally beat the game, we got beat the game numerous times. That's just a game we played over and over. You beat the final boss, and it was just something like you did something together, and it seemed like it straightened our bond even more. So that's why I have that on the list. It actually brings back great memories of me playing with Brandon, which we don't get to do very much at all now. He actually invited me to his house to play Double Dragon Neon, which was great. It made me relive that feeling, so that's something I definitely want to do more in the future.
We played through that whole game, huh?
We played through the whole game, even though we played through it on Double Dragon mode, which is like the hardest difficulty. I was you gain levels on that game. I would die in one hit because I was a new character. Brandon had all the moves and all the strength, but we played through it. We beat it together in one sitting. Took a few hours, and it was just great.
Yeah.
So we're going to move to Super Nintendo now.
I believe we might have the same game on this one.
Okay.
I said Earthbound.
See, I had that first, but I kind of thought you might put Earthbound down, so I changed mine. Mm-hmm. So what is it about Earthbound?
Oh, it's just we never actually owned the game when we were little. Our mom just rented it from Blockbuster week after week, and it probably would have been cheaper just to own the game outright. But
she never thought of it that way. She was, this game you could rent for $5 for the weekend, and instead of paying however much it was at the time up front. But we did own the games that we really wanted. It's just this one, it was just so much easier just to rent.
Yeah, and what drew me to it initially was the instruction booklet. That was the first time I ever seen an actual strategy guide sold as an instruction booklet, and it had the scratch and sniff stickers of some characters and the enemies and the bosses. A big memory is trying to get through the desert, trying to find the black sesame seed and the white sesame seed, getting past Forside when that Manny statue, or whatever you call it, changes no to yes and yes to no. Just different instances throughout the whole game just brings back memories. And even Matt was there. He really didn't play, but he was like a little cheerleader, I guess you could say. He just was always jumping up and down like Logan does today, just egging us on, trying to beat the boss and get stronger in the game.
One thing I could say about Earthbound is you're right, we never really did own it. That was one of the games I wanted to own. And Brandon actually got me for Christmas the instruction booklet, the big box it came in, and the game, which is amazing.
It was, what, 2 years ago? 2 Christmases ago?
2 Christmases ago. And it was the best feeling to open that present. And when I saw that box, it was just the greatest feeling in the world that I actually got to own this. It's in my game room right now. And I'm starting to play it. I've played through about half of it, so it's a really great game. And on a side note, I was talking to my brother Matt last night. He said he downloaded the emulator version. We don't do emulators. We're purists. We like the save function. We don't like it where you could just save in the middle of a jump if you wanted to. So us telling you about these games that we actually play is we do it straight on the system themselves. We don't download them on Wii. We actually play the carts themselves and play the original version. So that's the end of my side note. My game that I have down is Breath of Fire 2.
Oh, I actually thought about that when I was swimming last night.
Such a great game. It blew Breath of Fire 1 out of the water as far as gameplay and storyline goes. Breath of Fire 2 brings back memories of the when you go to the little cat restaurant, and you take off your clothes, your armor, your swords, and you get cooked. You want to try to get that chop chop spell because it came in very handy in the future of the game. Brandon and I used to go and try to get that chop chop spell. Because there was a little island. This is before the internet, before strategy guides. You had to actually call the Nintendo hotline if you wanted to get further in your games if you were stuck, which was great for us but bad for our parents because we called the Nintendo hotline just to hear Mega Man 3 news off of the Nintendo. It said, to beat Top Man, you must use Hard Man or whatever. And we were just so intrigued that we didn't have any knowledge of Mega Man 3 being out or anything like that. And just hearing that, we just called it over and over and charged up, I think, like $40 on her bill.
Do you remember the phone number?
I don't.
206-885-7529.
7529, that's right.
And I remember calling that Nintendo hotline and calling the hotline just to talk to an operator and ask him if he ever beat Batman Returns for Super Nintendo on the Super Mania difficulty level. And when he said no, I said, well, I did. And he was like, oh, really? Tell me more. And so I was telling him the best strategies on how to beat the game. I was giving him advice, but I thought I was the guru preaching to him. I was like, I could have a job at the Nintendo company. But all he was doing was stalling time to make more money for the company. He didn't care you could slam an opponent up into the glass wall with one of Batman's powers. He was like, let's see how far I could get this kid to go.
That totally makes sense. I just really thought that he just wanted to hear this. And I really thought he wanted to hear our stories and tips. And I had... You saying that right now just totally crushed my dreams because, not crushed my dreams, but like put into realization that that's what he was doing, and now I feel angry at him for that.
Yeah, I don't remember his name. I doubt he even plays video games. But yeah, that Nintendo hotline saved our butts a lot for Breath of Fire 2. I remember we couldn't find for the life of us where to find...
No, I thought it was Breath of Fire 1 that we called it on.
No, we called when... in a matter of fact, I believe I was on the phone with them, asking about how to find Blue or how to find the cave with all the little chinchilla things you had to fight.
Oh yeah, that's right, Oompa Loompas, or whatever those were called.
So I remember I was like, we don't know what to do. We needed some type of treat or something to leave by the hole. And I'm on the phone. My mom gave us permission, or our mom gave us permission to call the Nintendo hotline. And I'm sitting there, and of course the wait times forever because I'm sure I only have 2 people working the hotline, but I was on the phone and Brad was outside and I yell, I'm all picked up, and he comes running through the back door, failing to realize that the screen door is closed and popping the screen door off of the hinges. My mom, of course, getting mad.
She got mad a lot.
She did get mad, but it was she was supposed to get mad at the stuff we did.
Yeah.
So yeah, Breath of Fire 2, the ability to combine characters to make super characters, that was cool.
So finding the little island, I don't know if you guys remember, or for those who played, there's an island that once you get the well, you get a little well that you could go to different islands and explore the map. There's a small island where you go to, and they've got Bo and Karn from the previous Breath of Fire series, which, of course, this takes place decades later, or even, I believe, centuries. But they're there in the house. Outside on the island itself, the monsters are huge versions of the ones that you normally fight, like the little bird head. It's a giant one, or there's giant flies that you fight. And
aren't there also golden jellies or something?
There's 3 golden jellies who are normal size. They're called K-Sludge, I believe, King Sludge. They just murder you until you get a high enough level. But Brandon and I used to go. We had this weird ritual where we would take turns, probably 5 minutes each, or you fight 5 monsters. During the time you fight these 5 monsters, I'll go ahead and scratch your back or tickle your back or what have you. And we would just do that, and it was just so relaxing. to actually play through the game during that time, to get that soothing sensation of playing the game, having your brother basically massage you, get you prepped up for the fights, and we just gain levels constantly. The giant fly, you would actually use the spell Chop Chop and would kill it in one hit. So that's my main story from Breath of Fire.
So on Breath of Fire, you gained spells from having them used on you, or how did you get the Chop Chop spell?
Once you beat the cat, he gave you a random spell that you could. There were about 2 or 3 spells that you could learn and give them to any character you want. One was Chop Chop, the other was Renew, which I don't know what that. I still don't know what that does. And then he actually gave it to you, and you could give it to one of your party members. And we always give it to the main person.
Did Renew cure zombie status?
Probably. It was. I think that was a spell of the rainbow that came up on the screen. It's useless. I never used it.
Yeah.
So with that concluded, if you guys haven't played Breath of Fire 2, you should go out and play it. It's a great game.
It is.
So we're going to go on to Sega now.
Sega's fine.
What have you on Sega?
Sega, I really contemplated. There's a lot of games out there. Not too many of them have a lot of good memories for me, or should I say I really don't have memories about them. Sega was pretty much a bland system. I don't even know why we got it.
Because our friends had it.
I remember there's this kid, Greg
Schwartz.
Yeah. He would say Sonic was better than Super Nintendo, which I never got. How can a Sega character be better than a system? But of course we were 5th grade. And so I was like, Sega sucks, because we were always about Nintendo. We finally get the Sega. At first...
Now, I do want to interrupt and say something that Greg Schwartz, we had a love-hate relationship with him. He was one of those kids that we found annoying but cool at the same time. He was the first uncircumcised penis that I've seen. I just thought that he didn't have no penis at all because we were going to the bathroom, and I just so happened to look because I was young, curious.
Oh, look at those shoes.
Those are some nice kicks you got on.
What are those, ponies?
But, and I didn't know what it was because I'd never seen an uncircumcised
penis
before.
Alien.
And I said, what the heck is that? And it was like, it looked like a little woodpecker beak, and urine was shooting out of it. That's the best way I could describe it.
He was Jewish, right?
I think he was, but he said he got Christmas presents. I don't know if he did that to fit in or what. But he was Jewish, and I just remember thinking, man, he's got the smallest dick in the world. But that's Greg Schwartz for you. But he's the one who drove us to actually get the Sega.
So before we even got the Sega, our Uncle Joey, you'll hear a lot of tales about our father's side of the family. But
yeah, it's so weird that we interacted with our father's side of the family more than him completely on a whole new level, because we would go over to their house, and they all like on the same street, 38th Avenue in South Sac. The Uncle Joey lived on one side of the street. His mom, our grandma Nellie, lived on the other side of the street, where a bunch of her sons lived with her because they were all deadbeat, drug-addicted users. Had the best parties in the world, though, best barbecues that our mom actually allowed us to go to.
They were from Louisiana, so they cook Cajun food.
Cajun food that made your dick bigger and your dick hard.
That's Uncle Joey for you. But Uncle Joey told us one day he was going away to jail. Oh, no. He said he was going away to visit family
in Louisiana.
Yeah, he was going to go visit family in Louisiana. We're smart kids. We were 6. We knew he was going to jail.
I didn't know he was going to go to jail. I really thought he was going to go to Louisiana.
Oh, I'm a smart kid.
No, I put 2 and 2 together.
So he gave us the best gift that we thought we could ever receive. He gave us each $20. So I don't remember what I did with my $20, but I remember what you did. You went and rented a Sega Genesis from Big G Supermarket with Streets of Rage. And
Streets of Rage 2.
Streets of Rage 2, and I don't know if there were any
Golden
other,
Axe, maybe?
Maybe. But I was like, we were playing this system, and of course it was new, so we were like, Greg was right, this system is pretty cool.
This system is the bee's knees.
Yeah, so I don't know where I was going with that.
That's how, why we wanted the Sega.
Oh, yeah.
One, Greg had it. 2, we actually got a taste of it. And once we get a taste of something new, you'll learn that we have addictive personalities.
Yes.
And our wives could attest to it. Once we get into something, There's no stopping us of what we'll do with it. We get this look in our eyes. As I'm told, I've never seen it. Maybe I've seen it in Brandon's eyes, but we get this look in our eyes where we lust over something. We have to complete it. We have to get them all. We have to catch them all. The Pokemon, the trading cards, and thank the Lord that we are only in one heavy card collecting game, because if we were in others, we probably wouldn't be married anymore. We'd probably be living together, selling heroin, giving hand jobs for money to buy these cards that we need to find the ultra rare. We have very addictive personalities, so that's where I think our Sega Genesis or Sega Saturns came. Is once we got that taste for it, we tasted blood, we tasted fresh meat, and we wanted to get that system.
And our mom was to blame because she just bought it for us.
She was a what do they call it?
Enabler.
Enabler. Mom, you are such an enabler.
Yes. So Sega Genesis, the game I had as the most nostalgic for me. It also set the tone for just the type of movies I would start to like, and type of games I would find the most enjoyment out of. And that was when we rented it. We brought home Splatterhouse 2.
No, it was 3.
Was it 3? Splatterhouse 3.
And just to get that out of the way, that's what I chose as well.
Oh, okay.
So let's go ahead and talk about that.
So Splatterhouse 3, just the creepiest game. I mean, you saw body parts on the floor. That was unheard of in video games back then. You never saw any blood, really. Even when you played Street Fighter, when you hit them in the arcade, blood would come out. But in Super Nintendo, you'd see they tended to vomit.
Yeah.
So with Splatterhouse, you got to pick up machetes and
cleavers
and just hack enemies to death. And you saw body parts, and the enemies were disgusting. The bosses, one of the bosses was a giant worm that looked like
a giant dick.
That we didn't see that at the time, but
we also rented it again, or we got it when we were a little bit older. And I remember telling my mom, you fight this big giant worm with 2 legs running around. You damage him a bit. He's got his head chopped off. And I remember you could turn into a big super
brick,
a super, and just be all muscly. You could actually grab people and shake them up and down. And I went over, I grabbed the worm, and I shook him up and down.
And when you grabbed him, it went erect.
He went straight up and down, like he was just stiff as a board, because he probably liked it so much. You grabbed the worm, you shake him up and down. I said, "Look, Mom, he's jacking him off." My mom just looked at me and was like, "What did you just say?" And I was just, nothing. What do you mean, nothing? And so that and picking up the cleavers and getting to cut people's heads in, that was a great memory.
So your great memory is jacking off a worm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Pretty much.
All right. So that's Sega Genesis. Sega CD.
Sega CD. Let's go there.
So Sega CD was another type of those game systems where it wasn't necessary to have like the Saturn, but we just wanted it. And this game, I don't even remember how we came games, but the game I chose was Lunar 2 Eternal Blue. I don't know how we came across even Lunar Silver Star Story, or Silver Star, just random RPG that was really fun. It was a good story, but part 2 I thought outshined the first one by all means.
By far,
the music in it was great. We had they had the soundtrack on the Sega CD game, so you could plug it into the stereo or the record player or the CD player.
Boombox.
Yeah, the boombox, and listen to the songs on it. And it was just one of the best games out there.
That, for one, is I think the first time I actually fell in love with a character.
Oh, Lucia.
Lucia from that, and she didn't have big boobs or anything, or she was very plain, long blue hair. I remember just feeling that she was so vulnerable, and I just fell in love with her.
You had to save her.
You had to save her. You had to. She starts out. She's this all-powerful magician from the Blue Star. Comes to Earth, strict of her powers, very vulnerable, very scared when you run into enemies. Just flees, and you protect her and you go through the game with her, and by no means in a sexual way, but uh, I can't explain it, but more of a being in love with a video game character. It's probably the only time that's happened to me. Just because she felt so real, so vulnerable. Really an amazing story, and I don't know what it is about her that made me feel that way, but um, that just it just set the tone, I guess.
And then Bayonetta came before.
Oh, Bayonetta. Well, I wouldn't say I really lusted after Bayonetta, but it is kind of weird that I pushed my wife to get glasses after that movie instead of contacts, um, because I just found that just sexy. I don't know why, but
But Lunar 2, it's just one of the, like I said, the best games out there. You have characters from the first one that show up in the second one. You have Galleon, you have Null, you have a annoying little pet Ruby, who I liked Null better than Ruby from the first one, but Null was pretty cool, or Ruby was pretty cool.
oh yeah, Null was the he lived in the treehouse. He was a human, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And in the first one, he's a little cat who actually turned into a dragon, and uh, probably where I found my love for cats.
That or Luna from Sailor Moon.
Oh yes, Luna Sailor Moon was awesome.
What was your Sega CD game?
It was Lunar 2.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm sitting here thinking, I should just really fuck with him and say like Willie Beamish.
Yeah.
Willie Beamish was awesome, or Sewer Shark. After going in this whole bit of how I fell in love with Lucia, vulnerable Lucia, and I love her so much, and you turned to me like, so what was your game? And I'm like, it was Sewer Shark.
Niner, 6, Niner.
It was Sewer Shark or Willie Beamish. Playing that Willie Beamish was fun, but how can you expect me to say anything else but Lunar after hearing that? So
Are you jealous of those games I have up there?
no, I'm not jealous at all.
Okay.
He's referring to the PlayStation versions that I'm looking at right now of Lunar, the Silver Star Story Complete, and Lunar Eternal Blue for the PlayStation 1. By no means I'm not jealous of anything you have. I feel like they're each our own, and we could take what we want.
What's mine is yours, and what's yours is mine.
Yeah. Socks at the bedroom, but the Resident Evil figures that you have hanging on the wall. And I love me some Resident Evil.
I'm not even a big Resident Evil fan.
He's got Nemesis hanging in his wall from Resident Evil 3, and I'm sitting there like, he gave me a bunch of his toys that were like Dragon Ball Z figures, things like that, Simpsons, Mr. Scorpion. I was going through them, hanging up on I just recently moved a couple months ago. I finally got around to completing my game room. It's more of the kids' room because it's just got my Super Nintendo. It's got the Xbox in there, so Super Nintendo's out of the question once the Xbox is in there. But hung up a bunch of my Dragon Ball Z figures that I inherited from Brandon, and I was looking in the box and I was like, oh, I wonder where the Resident Evil figures went. And so I came over to his house one day and I look up and I'm like, oh, there they are. There's that awesome 9-10 inch Nemesis still in the package that you can't find anywhere. There's the G-Virus Birkin sitting up there. Oh look, there's the Mr. X over there.
Oh, he's got Sherry with the Birkin too.
Yeah, Sherry's with the Birkin. Yeah, but that's that's he's got quite a collection up there. So I wouldn't say I'm jealous. It's just when I look at those, I'm like, oh, those are so cool. I don't even know where we're going with that.
Oh, jealousy of for Lunar 2. The
yeah.
complete with all the Lucia pennant inside the case with the art book and the song, which it came with a soundtrack, but they changed the songs from the PlayStation version to the Sega CD version, which I really didn't like. I like the Sega CD versions a lot, which we ended up plagiarizing.
This is before Google, before internet by any means. We had a poem contest in junior high where he went ahead and wrote the lyrics out as a poem from one song. I think he did Blue Star Above Me, and I did When I Was Alone as One, as poems, and submitted them. Of course we didn't win, but we got a $15 Tower gift card each for submitting them. And
we got published.
We got published
in a little book.
And I was so freaked out that someone was going to know that we took those songs from that game. But now that I think back, there's no way no 40, 50-year-old English teacher is going to know anything about Lunar or the lyrics thereof. So
I actually felt bad taking credit for that because I remember this girl came up to me and was like, "Can I have your autograph?"
Yeah, I didn't feel bad. And then fast forward, someone tried to do that in high school in English class. Uh, Someone said we were talking about discussing Romeo and Juliet, and someone goes, uh, he said, "Love is like a rhino, short-sighted and hasty. If it does not find a way, it will make one."
Isn't that from a Magic card?
That is from Crash of the Rhinos, a Magic the Gathering card, which I knew, and I called him out on it. Embarrassed the fuck out of him.
Now, who's the bigger nerd? The one who recites the quote or the one who says, "Aha!"
You know, that's actually from a Magic card called Crash of the Rhinos.
From the Mirage set.
And I could bring that out right now and show it to you. And I showed it to the teacher.
It costs 2 forests and 6 uncolored.
It's a 6/6 Rampage.
With trample.
Trample. That's what I was looking for. But I showed it to her, and you know, he just had this look that he was defeated, and he was so embarrassed, and he just turned red, and I felt like so superior because I called him out on it and be like, don't try to plagiarize something that you can't uphold.
And all the kids were laughing, and you thought they were laughing with you, but they were laughing at you.
No, they weren't laughing. They were just looking like, why do we even care about this? Why are you even bringing it up? It was just, you know, one of those moments where I just felt so
Powerful.
secure. Yes, for calling him out.
Omniscient.
Yes.
So, after Sega CD, we get Saturn, right?
Yep.
It was so hard thinking of Saturn games. There was Virtua Fighter. I believe there was this game called Fighting Vipers, which I kind of liked because all the women had big chests, even though they were polygon and not round.
I don't remember that game.
But I think the only game I could really think of that I liked playing was Panzer Dragoon Zwei, German for two, Zwei something. But that's the only game I could think of. It was fun. You got to upgrade your dragon, even though it was quite linear. You got to choose your path.
You basically rode on a dragon, kind of like Dragon Spirit for Nintendo. You got to rode in a dragon on a 3D environment. And enemies would come at you and shoot them. Either you'd hit them or miss them. They'd fly by you.
I think depending on the amount of points you get is how your dragon upgrades or something.
Yeah.
You start off on the ground. Your dragon's a little groundling, and he's running along the ground while you're shooting at these enemies. It's like a rail shooter. You're shooting left and right, trying to... I don't remember the goal of the game. Probably defeat some monster dragon.
Yeah, I think that's all the time I want to spend on that. Pretty basic.
Wait, you didn't let me finish.
Okay.
So you're running like level 1 and 2, I believe you're still on the ground, but level 3 you got to evolve and start flying, and that's when it really got fun, was when you're flying through the air, hunting down these big dragons. That's all I wanted to talk about for Panzer Dragoon.
Oh.
You didn't have anything to say about it?
Panzer Dragoon, I mean, like you said, it's kind of a lost system, really. I really don't have that much to say, except I do remember trying to upgrade the dragon as much as possible, and it wouldn't. So,
and like we said, this was the system where we actually told each other our games, and I was really jealous of the game he came up with because that blew mine out of the water.
Yeah, so the game I came up with was Mr. Bones for the Sega Saturn. Really a cool game. Had very different modes of play in it. You started out as a skeleton. You know, go to... I don't even remember the point of the game. But there's a part where you could actually play different instruments. Like you have to appease a crowd by playing different riffs of a guitar. There's a part where you get torn apart and shrunk and get moved through an icy lake of the Lilliputian pad. The Lilliputian town. Just a really cool game.
That game was hard, too.
I believe, yeah, that game... The first, I can't remember, 4th, 5th level was really difficult to pass, and it's like that. And again, the Sega Saturn was one that we didn't really spend a lot of time on. That's all I have to say about it.
Very uneventful system.